Hey everybody, and welcome to Pit Stop Perspectives. Today we're going to be breaking down the AutoTrader EchoPark Automotive 500 from Texas Motor Speedway.
Everybody likes a winner, right?
Three wide finish.
That was old school ass whipping.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Ooh, let's go racing today, boys.
This week's Texas race was one of the best races we've seen at Texas in a while. Although there were way too many cautions with 16 on the day, I think it was still an awesome race. By Texas standards, at least. Chase Elliott ended up breaking his 42 race winless streak today. However, there's a lot more to the story before we get to that. At the start of the race, it was clear that Kyle Larson was going to have the fastest car today. He was 3/10 faster than any other car on the track at the beginning of the race. He was getting out to huge leads and dominated the first stage. At the beginning of the race, the only driver who looked like he was able to keep up with Kyle Larson was the 54 of Ty Gibbs. However, Ty Gibbs ended up having some really bad luck on pit road. First, Ty had to stay out longer than expected and ended up losing a lot of time to the other cars because of a fire that was caused from another car in his pit box. The longer he ended up having to stay out on track, the more time he was losing. Not only that, but once he was able to get into his pit box, he had to come back because the socket from the gun actually was stuck on the wheel and he had to come back in to take it off. Those events really seemed to kill his day. He didn't really show up again on my radar for the rest of the race. Kyle Larson went on to win that stage in dominant fashion. Our stage one finishers were first Kyle Larson, second Christopher Bell, third Denny Hamlin, fourth Tyler Reddick, fifth Chase Briscoe, sixth Ryan Blaney, seventh Chase Elliott, eighth Michael McDowell, ninth William Byron, and 10th Bubba Wallace. To start stage two, the 12 of Ryan Blaney decided to stay out, giving him the lead. A few other cars decided to stay out, those being the 33, the 17, and the 54. The 19 of Martin Truex Jr. decided to take two tires on pit road, which gained him 10 spots, making him the first one off of pit road right in front of Kyle Larson. Once the flag dropped in stage two, Larson wasted no time getting back to the front. However, just as Larson was catching up to the 12, Fox decides to go to commercial right as they're about to get side by side. Not only that, but during that same commercial break, they ended up missing a pretty big crash that took out the 48. We restarted on lap 107 and the 5 immediately took the lead. However, just a few laps later on lap 113, the 77 spun on his own. While the field was pacing around the track, the 5 of Kyle Larson actually ended up losing a tire on the track and had to go into the pits for a 2-lap penalty. Despite this, I was confident because of the speed that Kyle had had all day that his race wasn't over. But it was going to take a ton of work for them to get back up front. At this point, our stage 2 finishers were 1 Ross Chastain, 2nd Bubba Wallace, 3rd Ryan Blaney, 4th Eric Jones, 5th Chase Briscoe, 6th Brad Keselowski, 7th Harrison Burton, 8th Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 9th Ty Gibbs, and 10th Chase Elliott. At the start of stage 3, Kyle Larson got back on the lead lap, starting in 33rd place. Stage 3 was when the race really got crazy, if it wasn't already crazy enough. We had 7 cautions in stage 3, and it felt like the race was never going to end. On lap 260, Kyle Larson had gotten back up to 17th and looked like he might have a slight chance at getting back to the front. However, he ended up having contact with the 77 and spinning, putting him to the back of the field, effectively ending all of his hopes for having an awesome comeback today. The race restarted with 2 laps to go, with the 11 and the 9 leading the race. The 2 went into turn 1 side by side, and the 11 ended up getting loose and hitting the wall, bringing out another caution. I felt really bad for the 11. I hate to see anybody's day end like that, even if it is Denny Hamlin. After that, we re-racked the field for what was going to be the final restart of the day. The 1 of Ross Chastain and the 9 of Chase Elliott led the field to green. The 9 initially had the advantage, but the 1 was coming with a pretty big run. As he was coming with that run, he got a tap from the 9, which made him lose all the momentum that he had built up. Chase was able to take the 1 and retain the lead. As they were rounding the track, the 1 was doing his best to get back to the 9. However, the 1 and the 24 ended up getting into each other on the last lap, giving the win to the 9 and ending the 1's day. I think there's going to be a lot of talk about how this race went down in the last couple of laps. There's going to be a lot of people who don't like the contact the 9 made with the 1, and there's going to be a lot of people who don't like the contact the 1 made with the 24. He went from what was going to be at worst a second or third place finish to finishing 32nd. I really wasn't a huge fan of the contact the 9 made with the 1. I really wish they would have just raced it straight up back to the line. However, the 1 did have a huge run, and the 9 might have felt that was his only chance to get that win that he's been looking for quite a while. I know there's a ton of pressure on him, and had I been in his shoes, I might have done the same thing. I also think the contact with the 24 and the 1 could have been avoided. I really don't understand why that happened in the first place. Byron doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would just dump the 1, and I'm not necessarily saying he did that. However, watching it in real time and watching the way that those last few laps played out, it's hard not to feel that way a little bit. After the race, the 24 said that the contact wasn't intentional and that they just ended up getting together. Overall, I thought this was a really entertaining race. I thought there were way too many cautions. I would have liked to have seen somewhere between 8 and 10. However, the racing was awesome. It's always nice to see that the drivers have to struggle with the car a little bit and that they're not just turning laps. Today, that's definitely what they were doing. Some big names ended up spinning on their own. Another thing that was cool to see is some guys were at the front that normally aren't. Harrison Burton was leading laps at times today, and that's awesome to see. I really thought this race was refreshing after the past couple of weeks of bad short track racing that we've experienced. But what did you think of the racing? Did you think it was exciting, or did you think it was too much chaos? Also, let me know about what you thought about the way the last couple of laps went down. Do you think any of that contact was intentional? Do you think the contact by the 9 was dirty? Let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Make like Christopher and hit that bell so you can get notified on all of our latest NASCAR content. I appreciate you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.